One, two, three. Testing, testing. This is Nadine Jansen with my second part of my interview of a person with a foreign country. We are back here with Barbara Litch, who is from Guyana, and we left off talking about religion and more of like the social aspect of your country. I would now like to start with like your country itself, like the life of it, the people in it. Let's just get to know a little bit more about Guyana and how you feel about that compared to America. What can you tell me about Guyana overall? Do you find it more of like an urban setting or more of like a rural setting?
I would find Guyana as more of a urban setting.
So you think it's like more city life than like playing field and stuff like that?
Yes.
Like the equivalent of like Greensboro per se, or?
No, more of like the equivalent of New York.
New York. So describe like what's the city like?
Well, as far as buses, we have buses, and they're like busy and dirty and loud in Guyana.
Like fast paced, quick,
Yeah.
gotta catch the bus,
Yeah.
crowded, lots of moving around.
Yes.
Okay, any other sort of transportation? Like for example, here we have like taxis, trains, Greyhound buses, not like city buses, but like Greyhound buses. Any kind of transportation that you have in common there?
Well, we have buses that go to other cities, and we also have taxis. We have taxis.
I use taxis. Do you
Yes.
have to like call ahead and get a taxi, or can you just flag one down?
We have to call ahead.
Okay.
We also hitchhike in Guyana.
Like standing on the side of the road with your phone?
And thumbing down rides. It's not uncommon to catch a ride in Guyana. People flag down trucks, cars, bicycles.
Okay, I want to talk about that because that's kind of interesting to me. Because I know here, I don't know if, well, I'm sure you do, since you've spent the majority of your life now in America. But if you're driving down the highway and you see a hitchhiker, chances are you're not going to stop for them. You don't know who that person is. You don't know what they have, if it's a trap.
Yes.
Safety issues.
In America.
So would you say people are less precautious, less suspicious?
Less of both, and more open and
Trusting.
trusting
So it's more of like
wanting to help.
community.
Yes, more comfortable.
So danger isn't necessarily a factor. So you wouldn't pick someone up and worry, is this person going to stab me and take my money?
In most cases, not. Some people are more precautious than others.
But the majority of people would stop and pick up a
Yes.
stranger and just take them with them
Yes.
and drop them off at their destination. That's interesting.
Yes.
Do you remember ever catching a hitchhike?
Well, there was one time, not as a child, but when I went back on a visit, I was going to my grandmother's house. I actually went by myself without my mother and my father. And when I got off the plane, my ride actually wasn't there. And I was waiting. I waited for about 2 hours, and they never came. And so I didn't have enough money to get a taxi all the way to where my grandmother lived. So I actually had to thumb a ride, and a woman and her goats picked me up. And they actually were going past where my grandmother lived.
So it was convenient.
Yes, it was convenient. And they dropped me off, and I thanked them.
Is it normal for people to travel with goats?
I believe she was a
livestock?
goat herder.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I just haven't seen no transportation of livestock.
They do that in America too. They transport livestock. You know.
I'm aware of that.
Oh.
I'm an American. Thank you.
Okay.
I noticed that you said thumbing a ride. Is that what it's called there? I'm going to go outside and thumb me a ride?
Well, actually, that's what it's called here. So I wanted to use a term that you were more familiar with, but obviously you're not. Sorry.
So is it called? You just have such a smart mouth.
Well,
Is this
you're
spicy?
asking me crazy questions.
Is this spicy?
Thumbing is an American term.
I'm the interviewer. You're the interviewee.
Exactly.
I'm gonna ask some more questions now.
Exactly, but
Is
you are from America.
is this feisty attitude a characteristic of Guyana?
Characteristic. Characteristic.
Moving on, because I don't like where this is going. What can you tell me about the weather in Guyana? Do you know what weather is?
Well, I never. You have a manager?
Weather. Okay, this has been a lovely little cute charade. Back to the interview. What can you tell me about the weather?
Okay, well, in Guyana, it's very hot and humid. It's rainy sometimes. It'll be sunny one minute and thunderstorms the next.
Have you ever been outside during one of these flash floods, as they're called in America, a flash flood? You ever been outside and experienced one? Like been walking and it's sunny and hot and then the next minute it's just cats and dogs?
I didn't say that it rained cats and dogs. You know, a thunderstorm doesn't necessarily mean there's raging waters like Hurricane Katrina. Actually, it's just light rain. I'm sure in America, I've seen it numerous times where it's sunny, and then, you know, while it's sunny, it'll rain. But in Guyana, it will thunderstorm. There'll be thunder, not, you know, downpour, racing waters, but, you know, a moderate amount of rain. I have been in it numerous of times. As a child, I can't remember that because I used to be afraid of thunder. And as an adult, when I go back on my visits,
Do you still fear the thunder?
no, I do not.
What can you tell me about grocery shopping?
Well, we had a lot of fresh food in Guyana as opposed to America. We have a lot of markets. You know, most people shop at the market.
Like fresh produce markets?
Yes, we have fresh crops and fruit that are man-grown, you know, in local areas.
So it's not uncommon for someone to grow food in their backyard and then take it to the market and sell it.
No, that's not uncommon at all.
Were your parents merchants?
No, but my grandmother was.
So she grew food
Yes.
and then took it to the market and sold it.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, that was a little side job that she had.
Now I've been told that like they also sell meats in the market.
Yes, they have fresh goat, fresh beef, cow, you know, pork.
And this is also in the market.
Yes,
Interesting.
it is.
Along in the same. Do you have like meat markets and then food markets, or is it all?
We have meat markets and we have fruit and vegetable markets and a fish market. We have fish markets.
And this is all. So the people that sell their meat and the fish, do they also produce their own meat and then take it to the market for selling?
Most cases they do.
Fishing and
Fish,
raising goats and
raising goats.
livestock and such on
Yes.
like farming per se. Interesting. Would you say that you see the same level of self-production and selling here in America as opposed to Guyana?
No.
Did you know a lot of people personally, or do you know, now that you go back and visit, people that raise their own fruit or meat and then go sell it?
Yes, in Guyana.
But you don't see that as common.
I don't see that often here. I find it very rare to go to a market that has fresh, local grown fruits and vegetables, or meat for that matter. It's very, very rare to find a meat market that has fresh meat.
Do you feel or taste a difference in the food you brought from markets in Guyana as compared to what you buy in the grocery store here?
Yes.
So you do see a difference between fresh and store bought?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Moving on. How about like male-female interactions in Guyana?
What do you mean?
Like relationship-wise, how do they interact like in the street, like strangers?
Okay. It's not uncommon to get like flirted with in Guyana. There's a lot of flirting.
Like just walking on the street and having someone yell at you, or?
I mean, no, it's more, hi, how are you doing? You know,
Oh,
you look nice today. Not like in America. It's a little bit more vulgar, a little bit more forward.
do you notice a difference when you go back and visit in Guyana
Yes.
as compared to when you're in America?
Yes.
So you would describe American men as being more rude, vulgar, forward, as compared to Guyanese men?
Yes.
They come off more as gentlemen and softer and politer.
I wouldn't say softer because they wrestle goats.
I want to touch on that. Wrestling goats.
Yes.
Your men wrestle goats.
Yes.
Is that a sport, a hobby, a pastime?
No, it's not.
It's just.
I mean, if you were being put into a small area with other people being forced to be in this area, you wouldn't really want to comply. Goats don't like to comply. They like to run, and wrestling the goat to get them back into that cage is something that our men do. You have to be strong to do that.
Do you find American men lazy? I'm sensing hostility in your voice.
Well, I do find them to be a little lazy. Yes. I feel like it shouldn't be so hard for them to get off their behinds
And
go
wrestle
find
a goat.
A job. A job.
I thought you were going to say you thought that American men should go wrestle goats.
No, because not a lot of places in America have goats. Not many people own goats in America.
So you feel like your men wrestle goats while our men don't work.
Yes. Amongst other things, don't get me wrong. They wrestle goats. That's a part of farming. Other things is what our men do. They are mechanics. Men here in America, they're mechanics. Yeah, okay. Men in Guyana, they do a lot of different things.
You feel like your men are more socially active, more better citizens, better people.
I feel like we have less of an unemployment rate, and
So your economy's better.
not so much better, but more people
Take initiative.
strive to do something to better themselves, to bring food to the table.
So you're per se the typical, stereotypical foreigner that finds Americans lazy, vagrant, bums.
I've been in this country way longer than I was in Guyana, so I've seen firsthand. I'm not someone that just came here and I'm just judging from what I'm seeing. All of a sudden, I've been here for a long period of time, and I've noticed, I've observed over time.
I'm sorry if this question is too personal for you, but have you been in a relationship with an American man since moving to America from Guyana?
Yes, I have.
Did you not find him to be the stereotypical lazy, vagrant American?
No, actually, when I picked who I would date in America, I picked who I would date based on my standards, which were, I would like for him to have a job, to bring in income, not to support me, but to support himself, you know, and to be a gentleman, to be educated. All of those qualities.
Have you heard of welfare?
Yes, I have.
Is there a welfare system in Guyana?
No.
You say that with like such pride. Do you feel like welfare is like, how do you feel about that in America?
Actually, to be quite honest, I have never heard of there being welfare in Guyana. There very well may be welfare in Guyana, but I've never heard of it per se.
So you definitely know that if there is welfare in Guyana, it isn't used to the extent that it is
In America,
in America.
yes.
That's very interesting, that the whole little point of view you gave on Americans and how you feel about them. So to sum this up, do you miss your country?
I do.
If you had been older when your parents came, do you believe you would have stayed?
I believe I would have stayed because that is what I would have been accustomed to.
Would you have ever gone back would you ever go back to live and stay